The last thing Sloane Whitaker expected when she walked into the Rosewood Country Club that Saturday afternoon was to destroy a man's reputation in front of Charleston's elite. But hey, nobody's perfect. Wow, so it's true what they say, she blurted out loud enough for half the tea room to hear, staring at the man in the gray suit who'd just crashed into her, spilling iced tea all over her Chanel dress. Rich men really do think they can buy manners, but clearly it doesn't work. The silence was instant. 50 heads turned simultaneously, like watching a car crash in slow motion. The man blinked, processing. He was annoyingly handsome. Perfectly tousled dark hair, a jawline that looked sculpted by some bored Renaissance artist, and blue eyes that now shot daggers at her with the intensity of 1,000 suns. "Excuse me," he said, his voice dangerously calm. "You crashed into me." Sloane articulated each word as if speaking to a particularly slow child. Tea dripped from her dress, forming a pathetic puddle at her feet. "And you didn't even have the decency to apologize." Typical. She raised her hand, feeling the adrenaline from jet lag in the last 48 hours without sleep. She'd just returned from Paris, where her career as an image consultant for celebrities had imploded spectacularly when her main client, actress Amanda Stone, was photographed wearing a dress Sloane swore was absolutely perfect before it became an international meme called the red carpet disaster. Now she was back in her hometown, broke, unemployed, and clearly losing control of the situation. Sloane. A familiar voice cut through the tension. Vivian Ashford, Charleston's unofficial queen, approached with her shark smile. "Darling, I didn't know you were back. And I see you've already met my nephew, Declan." The floor should have opened up and swallowed Sloane. It would have been the perfect moment. "Your nephew, Declan Ashford," Vivian continued, clearly enjoying herself. "CEO of Ashford Capital, just back from London. Declan, this is Sloane Whitaker, daughter of Gregory and Diana Whitaker." Sloane felt the blood drain from her face. Ashford Capital, the South's largest investment fund, and she'd just called its CEO rude and stupid. Declan extended his hand, a dangerous smile playing on his lips. "Delighted to finally meet you, Sloane. I've heard so many things." She shook his hand, wishing her palm wasn't sweating. "Likewise." "Actually," Vivian said, and Sloane recognized that tone. It was the same one she used before orchestrating weddings, company mergers, or anything else requiring highly skilled manipulation. "How lucky that you're both here. I need to discuss an urgent matter with you. Follow me." 5 minutes later, Sloane sat in Vivian's private office with Declan occupying the armchair beside her, still wearing that irritating smile. "So," Vivian began, interlacing her fingers, "I have a proposal for both of you." "Aunt Vivian," Declan started. "The Ashford Foundation Board is about to vote on new leadership," she interrupted. "As you know, it's an extremely prestigious position. Billions in donations. Influence over all Southern philanthropy." Sloane didn't know where this was going, but she already didn't like it. "There are 2 final candidates, me and Bradford Montgomery." Vivian practically spat the name. "Bradford has argued that I'm too traditional, stuck in the past, that I don't understand new generations. You want me to do an image consultation?" Sloane asked hopefully. She desperately needed a client. "Not exactly." Vivian smiled. "I need to prove I'm progressive, modern. And nothing says modern like supporting a young couple in love, building their dreams together." Sloane's brain took 3 full seconds to process. "Wait, what?" "You're going to pretend to be engaged," Vivian announced as casually as commenting on the weather, "for 3 months, until the vote." "Absolutely not," Declan and Sloane said in unison, looking at each other with mutual horror. "Declan, darling." Vivian turned to her nephew. "You know Bradford is pressuring the board to block Ashford Capital's expansion into emerging markets. If he controls the foundation, You can kiss goodbye to that $5 billion project in Africa and Asia." Sloane saw Declan's jaw tighten. "And Sloane," Vivian continued relentlessly, "I heard your career in Los Angeles had a setback. But imagine 3 months as my personal consultant, helping plan gala events, connecting with all the important people in Charleston. When it's over, you'll have impeccable references and contacts worth millions." It was first-class emotional blackmail. Sloane had to admire it. "But we don't even know each other," Sloane protested weakly. "I just publicly insulted him, which makes it even more perfect." Vivian clapped her hands. "Everyone already saw the spark between you, the tension. It's practically Shakespearean." "Aunt Vivian, this is insane." "The engagement announcement happens tomorrow night at the charity ball," Vivian said with finality. "I expect you both there at 7 sharp. Don't be late." And before either could protest again, she simply walked out, leaving Sloane and Declan sitting in stunned silence. "So," Declan finally said, turning to her with an expression mixing disbelief and something dangerously close to amusement, "I guess you're going to be my fiancé." "Temporary," Sloane corrected quickly. "Very, very temporary. 3 months pretending to be in love with a woman who called me a stupid idiot 30 minutes ago." He ran a hand through his hair. "What could go wrong? Technically, I said you were rude and couldn't buy manners. It's different. Much better." Then Sloane knew she should say no. She should stand up, walk out of that office, and catch the first flight back to wherever broke, unemployed people ran away to. But then she looked at Declan Ashford with his impeccable suit and arrogant smile and felt something strange ignite in her chest. Maybe it was pride, maybe desperation, or maybe it was just the part of her that always loved an impossible challenge. "Fine," she heard her own voice say. 3 months. "But we have rules." Declan leaned forward, interested. "What kind of rules?" "No real kissing. No unnecessary touching. And definitely no real feelings." "Real feelings?" he repeated, as if the idea were hilarious. "With you? Impossible." "Great, then we agree." He extended his hand. "Deal?" She shook it, ignoring the strange tingling where their skin touched. "Deal." Tomorrow night, she'd pretend to be madly in love with Declan Ashford. How many problems could that cause? Sloane had attended exactly 47 charity galas in her life. She'd planned 12 of them. She'd even saved 3 from complete disasters involving fire alarms, drunk senators, and one memorable incident with a swan. None of that prepared her for pretending to be in love with Declan Ashford. "Stop looking at me like that," she hissed through her smile as they entered the grand ballroom of the Charleston Heritage Hotel. Crystal chandeliers dripped from the ceiling like frozen waterfalls, and approximately 300 of Charleston's wealthiest citizens milled around in designer gowns and tuxedos. "Like what?" Declan asked innocently, his hand resting on the small of her back. The touch felt like a brand through the emerald silk of her dress. "Like you're mentally calculating how much my dress costs and whether it's a good investment. I already know how much it costs. Valentino Spring Collection. Retail around $8,000. You got it for 40% off at a sample sale in New York last March." He smiled down at her. "And yes, excellent investment. You look stunning." Sloane's brain short-circuited for exactly 2 seconds. "How do you—" "I pay attention." His voice dropped lower. "Now stop glaring at me like I'm the enemy. We're supposed to be madly in love, remember? I'm revising my rules. New rule. No compliments. Too late. Already broke it." He guided her deeper into the crowd. "Besides, if I'm playing the role of besotted fiancé, I need to be convincing." Before Sloane could respond, Vivian materialized in front of them, wearing a silver gown that probably cost more than a small car. Her smile could cut glass. "There you are. My favorite couple." She air-kissed both their cheeks. "You look absolutely radiant together. Now come, everyone's dying to hear the story of your whirlwind romance. Whirlwind romance? Sloane squeaked. Of course. Young love waits for no one. Vivian steered them toward a cluster of impeccably dressed society members. Everyone, I'd like you to meet Charleston's newest engaged couple. The announcement rippled through the ballroom like a stone dropped in still water. Heads turned. Whispers erupted. Someone actually gasped. Engaged? Caroline Petton, the city's biggest gossip, nearly spilled her champagne. Since when? Declan's arm slid around Sloane's waist, pulling her against his side. She could feel the warmth of him through her dress, smell his cologne, something expensive and woodsy that made her brain fuzzy. Since I realized I couldn't spend another day without her, Declan said smoothly, gazing down at Sloane with an expression that would have convinced her if she didn't know better. When you know, you know. But you just met yesterday, another woman chimed in. At the country club, right? The very public insult. That wasn't our first meeting, Sloane improvised quickly. We actually met 6 months ago in London, at a gallery opening. Declan's eyebrows rose a fraction, the only sign of his surprise, but he recovered instantly. The Tate Modern. You were arguing with the curator about postmodern interpretations of classical themes. Sloane blinked. That was oddly specific and kind of perfect. You thought I was pretentious, she continued, warming to the story. I thought you were brilliant, he corrected, his thumb tracing small circles on her hip. And terrifying. We kept running into each other, Sloane added. Coffee shops, museums, that little bookstore in Notting Hill, Portobello Road. Declan supplied. You were buying a first edition of Jane Austen. I bought it for you. And you called me an insufferable show-off. You were being an insufferable show-off. They were standing so close now that Sloane could see the flecks of green in his blue eyes. The crowd around them had gone silent, watching their exchange like a tennis match. This is adorable, Caroline breathed. But what about yesterday? The tea incident? That was a lover's quarrel, Declan interrupted smoothly. I'd been in London for 3 months. Sloane thought I was ghosting her. I was actually planning the proposal. You crashed into me with iced tea, Sloane protested, then caught herself. Right, madly in love. But I may have overreacted. You called me an uneducated rich boy who couldn't buy manners. I was hurt, she said. And weirdly, it felt almost true. You disappeared for months without explanation. Declan's expression shifted something genuine, flickering across his face. I should have called. I'm sorry. The apology hung in the air between them. For a moment, Sloane forgot they were acting. Anyway, Vivian's voice shattered the moment. Declan proposed this morning. Show them the ring, darling. Sloane's left hand was suddenly weightless because there was no ring. They'd forgotten the ring. Panic flashed across Declan's face. Sloane felt her smile freeze. The crowd leaned in expectantly. Actually, a new voice interrupted. I have it right here. A young woman in a sleek black dress approached, holding out a small velvet box. She had auburn hair pulled into a neat bun and looked vaguely familiar. Harper, Declan said, surprised. Saving your life, Harper whispered, pressing the box into his palm. You left it at the office. I figured you might need it. Declan recovered quickly, opening the box to reveal a stunning emerald-cut diamond that caught the light and threw rainbows across Sloane's face. Enormous. Probably cost more than her car. I wanted to wait for the perfect moment, Declan said, removing the ring. But I suppose now is as good as any. He took Sloane's left hand. His palm was warm, steady. Their eyes met, and something electric passed between them. Sloane Whitaker, he said quietly, and she could almost believe the tenderness in his voice was real. Will you marry me again? The crowd laughed. Yes, she whispered, watching as he slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Yes, I will. The ballroom erupted in applause. Champagne appeared. People surged forward with congratulations. And through it all, Sloane kept staring at the ring on her finger, feeling the weight of it. This was fake. Temporary. 3 months of pretending. So, why did her hand feel like it was burning where Declan had touched it? 2 hours later, Sloane escaped to the balcony for air. The ring kept catching her eye, winking in the moonlight. Inside, she could hear the party continuing. Music, laughter, the clink of crystal. Running away already? She turned to find Declan leaning against the door frame, bow tie loosened, champagne flute in hand. Just needed a minute. She held up her hand, watching the diamond sparkle. This is insane. This ring probably costs more than I made in 3 years. It's my grandmother's, Declan said quietly, moving to stand beside her at the railing. Vivian insisted. Said it would be more believable. Your grandmother Sloane felt sick. Declan, I can't. She died 5 years ago. Would have loved this whole ridiculous scheme, honestly. He smiled, but it was sad around the edges. She always said the Ashford family needed more chaos. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, Charleston spread out below them, lights twinkling in the darkness. That was quick thinking, Sloane said finally. The London story. You started it. I just followed your lead. He glanced at her. You're a good liar. Years of practice. She grimaced. Image consulting is basically professional lying, making people believe the version of reality that benefits them most. Is that what you think this is? Professional lying, isn't it? Declan was quiet for a long moment. Who was Harper? Sloane asked, changing the subject. My assistant. Also my best friend since college. She thinks this whole thing is hilarious. At least someone's enjoying it. Hey. Declan turned to face her, fully. For what it's worth, you were incredible in there. Natural, like you'd been doing this your whole life. Thanks. I think that was a compliment. He moved closer. Which I know is against your rules. But tough luck. You're stuck with me for 3 months. Might as well get used to it. Sloane looked up at him. He was too close. She could see the shadow of stubble on his jaw, the way his hair fell across his forehead. This was dangerous territory. We should go back inside, she said, but didn't move. Probably. He didn't move either. People will talk. Let them. We're engaged, remember? The word hung between them, engaged. Fake engaged. Temporarily engaged. So many qualifiers. And yet, Declan, there you are. Vivian's voice cut through the moment like a knife. She appeared in the doorway, beaming. Wonderful news. Charleston Society magazine wants to do a feature on you two. A full spread. The modern couple redefining Charleston romance. Interview next week. Sloane felt her stomach drop. Isn't it marvelous? This is exactly the progressive image we need. Vivian practically glowed with triumph. Now come back inside. The photographer wants couple shots for the event coverage. As Vivian disappeared back into the ballroom, Sloane turned to Declan with wide eyes. A magazine feature, apparently. He rubbed his face. This is getting complicated. Getting? It's been complicated since yesterday. Fair point. He offered his arm. Ready for round 2? Sloane looked at the arm, then at him, then at the ridiculous ring on her finger. 3 months. She could do this for 3 months. What she couldn't explain was why part of her was already dreading the moment it would end. Let's go, she said, taking his arm. But I'm adding another rule. No magazine features without 24 hours notice. Deal. Though at this rate, we're going to need a contract for all these rules. Don't tempt me, Ashford. I will write a contract. I believe you, Whitaker. And as they walked back into the ballroom, together arm in arm, rings sparkling under the chandeliers, Sloane couldn't shake the feeling that she'd just stepped off a cliff. The only question was whether Declan Ashford would catch her, or if they'd both crash spectacularly. Sloane had been awake for approximately 4 hours when her doorbell rang at 7 in the morning. She'd been up since 3, stress researching Declan Ashford online like some kind of obsessed stalker. Favorite food? Unknown. Hobbies? Business journals mentioned sailing and chess. Dating history? Surprisingly private, though there were photos from 2 years ago with a blonde at some gala ex-girlfriend. Current situation? The internet was frustratingly vague. How was she supposed to fake being in love with someone she knew absolutely nothing about? The doorbell rang again, insistently. Sloane shuffled to the door in pajama shorts and an oversized Yale t-shirt, hair piled on top of her head in what could generously be called a messy bun, but was actually more of a bird's nest. She yanked open the door. Declan Ashford stood there in running gear-fitted athletic shirt, shorts that should be illegal, and a light sheen of sweat that suggested he'd just finished exercising. Because, of course, he was one of those people who exercised at dawn. "What are you doing here?" she demanded. "Good morning to you too, darling." He held up 2 coffee cups and a white paper bag. "Brought breakfast. We need to talk before the interview. The interview is in 5 hours. "Exactly. Not much time." He walked past her into her apartment like he owned it. "Nice place. Very minimalist. I just moved back. Haven't unpacked." Sloane closed the door, suddenly aware she was wearing pajamas and no bra. She crossed her arms. "You can't just show up at people's houses at dawn. It's 7. Hardly dawn." He set the coffee and bag on her kitchen counter, looking around with interest. "Besides, we're engaged. I should know where you live." "Fake engaged. The magazine doesn't know that." He pulled out a coffee and offered it to her. "Vanilla latte. Extra shot. No foam. Am I close?" Sloane stared at him. "How did you—" "You ordered one at the country club before you insulted me." His smile was infuriatingly smug. "I pay attention, remember?" She took the coffee, hating that it was perfect. "Fine. What do we need to talk about?" "Everything." Declan pulled out his phone, opening what looked like a document. "Harper made us a cheat sheet. Basic facts we should both know. Birthday?" He typed. "March 15th. Mine's October 2nd. Middle name? Catherine. You?" "James." More typing. "Siblings?" "Only child. You have a sister, right?" "I remember Vivian mentioning a younger sister, Piper. She's in graduate school at Columbia, studying architecture." He looked up. "Favorite color?" This feels like a bad dating app questionnaire. That's because it basically is, except with higher stakes and a magazine photographer. He waited. "Favorite color?" "Blue. That specific blue of the ocean right before sunset." The answer came out before she could think. "Yours?" Something flickered in his expression. "Green. Like the color of your dress last night." The apartment suddenly felt very small. "Favorite food?" she asked quickly. "My grandmother's lasagna, which I can't have anymore because she's gone. So technically, it's a Thai place in London called Kiln." He said it matter-of-factly, but Sloane caught the hint of sadness. "Yours?" "Tacos. Really good street tacos from this truck in LA that probably gave me food poisoning twice, but I didn't care." She sat on the couch. "What else is on Harper's list?" Declan joined her, keeping a respectable distance. "First kiss story, first date, how I proposed, what we fight about, pet peeves, future plans." That's a lot. "We have 5 hours." He pulled a croissant from the bag, breaking it in half and offering her a piece. "We should start with the proposal, since we kind of skipped that part publicly." "You proposed in London," Sloane improvised. "After we fought about you disappearing." "Where in London?" She bit into the croissant. "Buying time. Primrose Hill at sunset." "Too cliché." Declan shook his head. "How about the British Library?" "You'd gone there to research something for a client. I tracked you down. Found you in the reading room, surrounded by books." Sloane felt something warm bloom in her chest. "That's actually really good." I got down on one knee between the stacks. "Very quiet. Very private. You started crying and told me I was ruining your research, but you said yes anyway." Eventually, he grinned. "After making me sweat for 5 minutes. Sound right?" "Perfect." She pulled out her phone, typing notes. First date. That coffee shop in Notting Hill. We argued about whether artificial intelligence would replace human creativity. I said no. You said yes. Obviously. I'm a finance guy. And you're an image consultant who believes in human connection. Sloane was starting to enjoy this. We talked for 4 hours. You had 3 espressos, and I had to physically stop you from ordering a 4th. I was nervous. Declan's expression softened. So was I. They stared at each other. For a moment, Sloane forgot they were making this all up. First kiss? She asked, her voice coming out quieter than intended. That night, I walked you back to your hotel, the Milestone in Kensington. It was raining, of course it was. It's London. We stood under the awning. You were shivering. Declan's voice had dropped lower. I gave you my jacket. Classic move. You made fun of me for being such a gentleman, obviously. And then, I kissed you. He was looking at her mouth now. And you kissed me back. The air between them felt electric. Sloane's heart was hammering so hard she was sure he could hear it. Her phone alarm went off, shattering the moment. Interview prep, right? She jumped up. I should get dressed. The photographer will be here in 4 hours. We still need to coordinate outfits. Sloane. She turned back. You're doing great, Declan said quietly. This is weird and complicated, but you're handling it like a pro. Years of fake it till you make it. Maybe. He stood, gathering his coffee. But I don't think you're faking as much as you think you are. Before she could process that, he headed for the door. Declan. He turned. That story. The British Library proposal. It was. She struggled to find words. It was really romantic. His smile was genuine this time, no trace of his usual smirk. Good. That's kind of the point. After he left, Sloane stood in her apartment holding her coffee, staring at the ring on her finger. This was supposed to be simple. 3 months of pretending. No feelings. So why did that story feel more real than half the actual relationships she'd had? 4 hours later, Sloane's apartment had been transformed into a photo shoot set. The team from Charleston Society magazine had arrived with lighting equipment, backdrop stands, and enough styling products to open a salon. More natural light. The photographer, an energetic woman named Jules, directed her assistant. We want authentic, not staged. Sloane caught Declan's eye across the room and saw her own amusement reflected back. The irony of staging photos to look unstaged for their completely staged relationship was not lost on either of them. Okay, lovebirds. Jules clapped her hands. Let's start with some casual couch shots, just cuddling, being adorable. Sloane settled onto her couch. Declan sat beside her and, after a moment's hesitation, pulled her against his side. She fit perfectly, her head resting just below his shoulder. Closer, Jules instructed. You're engaged, not strangers at a bus stop. Declan's arm tightened around her. Sloane could feel his heartbeat through his shirt, steady, calm. How was he so calm? Sloane, touch his face like you're about to kiss him. Her hand moved to his jaw. The stubble scratched lightly against her palm. Declan's eyes met hers, something unreadable in their depths. Perfect. Hold that. Click. 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 Now Declan whispers something to her, something that makes her laugh. He leaned in close, his breath warm against her ear. I'm adding a new rule. No awkward photo shoots without advanced warning. Sloane burst out laughing, swatting his chest. The camera captured it all. Brilliant. More of that. Jules was in heaven. Now let's try the kitchen, very domestic, making breakfast together. 20 minutes and several candid shots later, they'd moved through every room. Sloane perched on the kitchen counter while Declan stood between her legs, both of them holding coffee mugs and pretending to chat. Sloane sitting at her desk while Declan read over her shoulder. The two of them on her tiny balcony, his arms wrapped around her from behind as they looked out over the city. That last one felt too real. His chin rested on top of her head. his hands clasped over her stomach. If she closed her eyes, she could almost believe. "Okay, last setup," Jules announced. "The bedroom." Sloane's eyes snapped open. "The bedroom?" "Just sitting on the bed, very innocent. We want to show intimacy." Not Jules caught herself. "You know, this is a family magazine." 5 minutes later, Sloane sat on her bed wearing a cream sweater and jeans, watching Declan settle beside her. The lighting crew had opened her curtains, letting afternoon sun stream across the white duvet. "Just relax," Jules said. "Talk to each other. Forget we're here." "Right. Forget about the 5 people watching them. Easy." "This is the weirdest thing I've ever done," Sloane muttered. "Really?" Declan's hand found hers on the bed. "Weirder than insulting me at a country club?" "That felt natural." "Ouch. You know what I mean." She glanced at their intertwined hands. When had he done that? "This is just intimate. We're supposed to be getting married." "Fake married. They don't know that." He squeezed her hand. "Besides, you've got this. You've been perfect all day." "Sloane, look at Declan," Jules called, like he just said something sweet. She turned to find him already looking at her. The expression on his face made her breath catch. "What?" she whispered. "Nothing. Just thinking about how convincing you are at this. You're not so bad yourself." The camera clicked. Neither of them moved. "You know what the crazy part is?" Declan said quietly. "This doesn't feel as fake as it should." Sloane's heart skipped. "Dan, beautiful. We got it." Jules's voice broke the moment. "That's a wrap, everyone." The crew began packing up. Sloane moved to stand, but Declan's hand tightened on hers. "Have dinner with me tonight," he said. "We just spent 6 hours together. Real dinner. Not fake engagement stuff. Just us getting to know each other since we're stuck in this mess together." It was a terrible idea. Adding real dates to fake dating was asking for trouble. "Okay," she heard herself say. "Yeah, but somewhere casual. I've had enough staging for one day." His smile was worth it. "I know just the place." 3 hours later, Sloane stood outside Hank's BBQ, a dive restaurant on the edge of downtown that looked like it had been there since the Civil War. This was not where she expected Declan Ashford, CEO and sophisticate, to choose. He was waiting outside, now in jeans and a simple blue button-down, looking unfairly attractive in casual clothes. "Before you judge," he said as she approached, "this place has the best ribs in South Carolina. I'm not judging. I'm impressed." She gestured to the neon sign. "Didn't peg you for a BBQ guy. There's a lot you don't know about me, Whitaker." He held the door. "Ready to find out?" As they walked inside, no cameras, no magazines, no Vivian orchestrating, Sloane felt something shift. This was dangerous. More dangerous than fake engagement rings or staged photos. This felt like a real date. And the worst part? She didn't want it to stop. The ribs at Hank's barbecue were, as Declan promised, incredible. Sloane was 3 bites into her sauce, probably all over her face, when her entire world tilted sideways. Sloane Whitaker? No way. She looked up to see a man approaching their table, tall, sandy-haired, with a smile that used to make her knees weak. Past tense. Very past tense. Tyler. The word came out strangled. Tyler Chen, her ex-boyfriend from college. The one who dumped her via text while she was presenting her senior thesis. The one who'd moved to Charleston 3 years ago, which was precisely why she'd stayed away. "I heard you were back in town." Tyler's gaze slid to Declan with obvious curiosity. "Who's your friend?" "Fiancé," Declan corrected smoothly, standing to shake Tyler's hand with just a bit too much pressure. "Declan Ashford." Tyler's eyes widened. Ashford as in Ashford Capital. He turned back to Sloane with something that looked like respect mixed with disbelief. "Wow, Sloane, you really upgraded." Sloane felt her jaw clench. "Tyler, we're actually in the middle of—" "No way. We have to catch up." Tyler pulled over a chair, completely missing or ignoring every social cue. I can't believe you're engaged. Last I heard, you were in LA doing that image consultant thing. How'd that work out? The question landed like a slap. He knew. Of course he knew. The red carpet disaster had been international news. It worked out fine, Sloane said tightly. I decided to come home. Right. Right. Tyler's smile was sympathetic in a way that made her want to throw her ribs at him. That thing with Amanda Stone was brutal. I saw the memes. Rough break. Declan's hand found hers under the table, squeezing gently. The gesture steadied her. Sloane's consulting for the Ashford Foundation now, Declan said, his voice polite but with an edge, much more prestigious than celebrity work. Sure, sure. Tyler turned to Declan. So how did you two meet? I'm dying to know. Sloane was always so picky about guys. I mean, we dated for 2 years and she never. We met in London, Sloane interrupted. 6 months ago. London? Tyler laughed. Remember when we were going to move to London together, Sloane? After graduation, before you got so focused on your career that you forgot about, everything else. The implication was clear. Before you became too ambitious, too difficult, too much. Tyler, Declan's voice had gone cold. I'm sure you have somewhere else to be. Actually, I'm meeting someone. Tyler stood, clearly oblivious to the tension. But hey, we should all get dinner sometime. My girlfriend would love to meet you guys. She's a doctor, very successful. We'll check our schedules, Sloane said flatly. After Tyler finally left, Sloane stared at her plate, appetite completely gone. What an insufferable Declan started. Don't. She put down her fork. Just don't. He had no right to bring up LA like that, or imply that you. I said don't. Sloane grabbed her purse. I need air. She was outside before Declan could respond, sucking in deep breaths of evening air. The street was quiet except for distant traffic and the muffled sounds from inside the restaurant. Sloane. Declan appeared beside her. Talk to me. There's nothing to talk about. That guy was a complete. He was right. The words exploded out of her. The LA thing was a disaster. I failed spectacularly, in front of millions of people. And yes, I was too focused on my career. That's why every relationship I've ever had has crashed and burned. That's not. You don't know me, Declan. She spun to face him. We've known each other for 3 days. We're playing pretend. This, she gestured between them, isn't real. So stop acting like you need to defend my honor or whatever this is. His jaw tightened. Fine. You're right. I don't know you, but I know that guy was a jackass. And you deserve better than someone who makes you feel small. This coming from the man who's paying me to be his fake fiancé. The words hung in the air like poison. Declan's expression shuddered. Right. Forgot this was just a business transaction for you. That's not what I meant. No, it's fine. Clear boundaries. That's what you wanted, right? He pulled out his wallet, throwing cash on their outdoor table. I'll see you at the foundation meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. Don't be late. He walked away before she could respond. Sloane stood on the sidewalk watching him go and felt something crack in her chest. She didn't sleep that night. At 3 a.m., she was stress-eating ice cream and Googling how to apologize for being a complete idiot when her phone rang. Harper's name flashed on the screen. Hello, you messed up. Harper's voice was matter-of-fact. Big time. How did you? Declan called me. He does that when he's upset, usually while doing something stupid, like reorganizing his entire office at midnight. The sound of typing came through. So, want to tell me what happened? Sloane found herself spilling everything. Tyler, the comments about LA, her explosion at Declan, and now he thinks I'm just using him, she finished miserably. Aren't you? Sloane stopped. I don't know anymore. Here's what you need to understand about Declan. His last girlfriend, Victoria, dated him for 18 months. Turned out she was only interested in his connections. Used him to launch her art gallery, then dumped him the week after the opening. He found out she'd been cheating on him for 6 months. Sloane felt sick. He told you that? I'm his best friend. I was there for the aftermath. Harper's voice softened. He's been careful since then. Keeps people at arm's length. But with you, I've seen him more relaxed in 3 days than in 2 years. Even if it started as fake, it's not anymore. Not for him. Harper. Fix it, Sloane. Before tomorrow's meeting. Because if you show up and pretend nothing happened, he'll shut down completely. And you'll lose something real before you even realize you had it. After Harper hung up, Sloane stared at her phone. Then she looked at the ring on her finger, Declan's grandmother's ring, and she knew what she had to do. At 6 a.m., Sloane stood outside Ashford Capital headquarters. The building was dark except for one light on the top floor. She used the guest pass Harper had mysteriously texted her 20 minutes ago and took the elevator to the executive suite. Declan's office was exactly what she expected. Floor to ceiling, windows overlooking Charleston, sleek furniture, and files organized with military precision. He sat at his desk, still in yesterday's clothes, surrounded by spreadsheets. How did you get in here? He didn't look up. Harper. Traitor. She cares about you. Sloane moved into the office. Can we talk? Nothing to talk about. You made yourself clear. I was wrong. That got his attention. He looked up, exhaustion evident in his eyes. I panicked. Sloane continued. Tyler showing up, saying all that stuff about LA and my career, it triggered every insecurity I have, and I took it out on you. You said this wasn't real. I was lying. The admission felt like jumping off a cliff. Maybe at the beginning it was just business. But somewhere between the fake proposal story and you remembering my coffee order and the way you defended me to Tyler, even when I was being impossible, it stopped being fake. At least for me. Declan stood slowly. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm terrified. She moved closer. I'm saying every relationship I've had has failed because I'm too much, too ambitious, too opinionated, too difficult. And this thing with you, even if it started as pretend, is the most real thing I've felt in years, which is insane because we barely know each other and we're literally lying to everyone. And he kissed her. Not the fake kiss from the charity ball announcement. A real kiss. His hands cupping her face, her fingers clutching his shirt, both of them desperate and honest, and completely present. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Declan rested his forehead against hers. You're not too much, he said quietly. You're everything. Sloane felt tears threatening. This is so stupid. We've known each other for 3 days, 4 days, and who cares? He smiled, that genuine smile she was starting to crave. We can figure it out as we go. But the fake engagement becomes a real relationship eventually. He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. If you want. I want. She kissed him again, softer this time. But Declan. Yeah? We can't tell anyone yet. Vivian. The foundation vote. The magazine article. If people find out we weren't really engaged from the start. I know, he sighed. 3 months of lying, just like we agreed. But at least now we're lying about the timeline, not about this. He pulled her closer. This. Us. We're complicated. Extremely. He grinned. But when has that ever stopped you? At 8:45 a.m., they arrived at the foundation, meeting together, perfectly professional, appropriately affectionate engaged couple. But when Vivian announced they'd been invited to appear on Charleston Living morning show next week, and the board member next to Sloane whispered, "You two are adorable," Sloane felt Declan's hand tighten on hers under the table. Because now they weren't just lying to protect a business deal. They were lying to protect something real. And that, Sloane realized as Vivian outlined their next 3 public appearances, was infinitely more dangerous. After the meeting, as they walked to the parking garage, Declan pulled her into a quiet corner. For the record, he said, I'm adding a new rule. Oh? When we're alone, no more pretending. He kissed her forehead. Deal. Deal. As she drove home, Sloane caught herself smiling at random moments. Then she'd remember the morning show appearance, the magazine feature dropping next week, the charity gala, the foundation vote, 3 months of perfect lies. But in between, in the quiet moments, in the stolen kisses and real conversations, 3 months of perfect truth. She could do this. What could possibly go wrong? Sloane's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Saw your engagement announcement. Interesting timing. We should talk about LA and about what really happened with Amanda Stone. Call me. Marcus Webb. Entertainment tonight. Sloane stared at the message, her blood running cold. Marcus Webb, the journalist who'd been trying to interview her about the red carpet disaster for months. The one who'd been digging into whether it was really just a styling mistake or something more deliberate. Remember, Sloane whispered as they sat in the green room of Charleston Living Studio, we met in London, dated for 6 months. You proposed at the British Library. I know the story. Declan adjusted his tie, looking unfairly calm for someone about to lie on live television. We've been over it 17 times, 18, and we need to sync our body language. Couples who've been together for months have physical tells. Sloane. He caught her hand, stilling her nervous fidgeting. Breathe. We've got this. She wanted to believe him. Really, she did. But Marcus Webb's text from 3 days ago kept playing in her mind. She hadn't responded, hadn't told Declan about it, and the guilt was eating her alive. 5 minutes. A production assistant popped her head in. You're on right after the cooking segment. The moment she left, Sloane's phone buzzed. Another message from Marcus. On my way to Charleston. Would hate for your engagement story to get complicated. Coffee tomorrow? M. Everything okay? Declan asked. Fine. The lie tasted bitter. Just Harper wishing us luck. Before he could respond, the PA returned. You're up. The set of Charleston Living was aggressively cheerful. Bright yellow couches, fake plants, and a host named Brittany Chen whose smile could power a small city. And we're back. Brittany beamed at the camera. Today we have Charleston's hottest new couple, Sloane Whitaker and Declan Ashford. Their whirlwind romance has everyone talking. Welcome, you two. They settled onto the couch, Declan's arm naturally finding its place around Sloane's shoulders. To anyone watching, they looked perfect. So tell us, Brittany leaned forward conspiratorially. How did you meet? In London, they said simultaneously, then laughed. Sloane had to admit they were good at this. Declan continued, 6 months ago. I was there for business. She was consulting for a client. We kept running into each other. It felt like fate, Sloane added, managing to sound wistful instead of terrified. And Declan. You proposed in a library. That's so romantic and unexpected. Sloane loves books. I wanted it to be meaningful. His thumb traced circles on her shoulder, their private signal that everything was okay. She made me wait 5 minutes before saying yes. I wanted to make sure he was serious, Sloane protested, and the studio audience laughed. This was going well. Too well. Now, Sloane. Brittany's smile sharpened slightly. I have to ask about the elephant in the room. Your last major client, Amanda Stone, had that unfortunate red carpet incident. Some people are wondering if your sudden engagement and move home is related to that. The situation was resolved professionally, Sloane interrupted, her PR training kicking in. Amanda and I parted ways amicably. My decision to return to Charleston was about being closer to family. She looked at Declan. And following my heart. Goodness. Speaking of following hearts, Brittany continued. We have a surprise for you. We reached out to people from your past for some fun stories. Sloane felt ice slide down her spine. First up, via video call, we have Tyler Chen. He says he knew Sloane in college. Tyler, you're on. A screen behind them lit up with Tyler's face, grinning like he'd won the lottery. Hey, Sloane. Hey, Declan. Tyler waved. So, funny story, Sloane and I actually dated for 2 years. We were pretty serious. Even talked about moving to London together after graduation. Sloane felt Declan tense beside her. But then, Tyler continued, oblivious. Sloane got super focused on her career, like obsessively focused. Canceled dates, forgot our anniversary twice. Eventually, I had to end it because she just didn't have time for a relationship, you know? The studio went quiet. Wow, Brittany said, clearly eating this up. So, Sloane, you went from someone who couldn't balance career and love to engaged in 6 months. That's quite a transformation. People grow, Sloane managed, her smile feeling like it might crack her face. And when you meet the right person. Speaking of the right person, Brittany interrupted again, we also have someone from your past, Declan. Victoria Morrison, she wanted to send her congratulations. Declan's entire body went rigid. Another screen appeared. A blonde woman with sharp features and sharper eyes smiled at the camera. Declan, congratulations on your engagement, Victoria said, her voice sweet as poison. I'm so happy you found someone. We had such a special connection when we dated. Remember how we used to talk about getting married? Of course, that was before I realized you were more married to your work than interested in a real relationship. She paused, her smile widening. But I'm sure with Sloane it's different. After all, she's a professional image consultant. She knows exactly how to make things look perfect even if they're not. Good luck to both of you. The screen went dark. The studio audience murmured. Brittany looked thrilled. Sloane felt Declan's hand tighten on her shoulder, not their comfort signal, but genuine tension. Well, Brittany said brightly, sounds like you both have interesting romantic histories. Makes me wonder, is this engagement moving perhaps a bit fast? 6 months is quite short. When you know, Declan said, his voice strained. And you know, Brittany pressed. Absolutely. Sloane, same question. You're sure about this? Given your history of prioritizing career over relationships? Something in Sloane snapped. Maybe it was the stress. Maybe it was Marcus Webb's looming threat. Maybe it was seeing Declan ambushed by his cheating ex on live television. I'm sure, she said firmly, because Declan sees me for who I really am, not someone who's too ambitious or too focused. He understands that my career matters, and so does he. And yes, 6 months seems fast, but we've packed more honesty and real connection into that time than most people get in years. She turned to look at Declan and found him already looking at her. Something passed between them, surprise, gratitude, something deeper. Plus, she added, turning back to Brittany with a smile that was all teeth, I think people who truly support us wouldn't ambush us with our exes on live television. That's more about ratings than romance. The audience gasped. Brittany's smile froze. We just thought Brittany started. We should go. Declan stood, helping Sloane up. Thank you for having us, but we have another appointment. They walked off, set hand in hand, leaving Brittany stammering behind them. The car ride to Declan's office was silent. When they finally parked, neither moved. That was Sloane started. A disaster, Declan finished. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have snapped at the host. Now it'll look like we're defensive, like we're hiding something. We are hiding something, right? But Sloane Declan turned to face her. Thank you for what you said up there about me seeing you for who you are. I meant it. I know. He reached for her hand. Victoria was wrong, by the way. I wasn't more married to my work. She just wanted me to be someone I wasn't. You never do that. Even when I'm being impossible. Especially then. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. We should talk about... Sloane's phone rang. Marcus Webb. She declined the call. Who was that? Declan asked. This was it, the moment to tell him about Marcus, about the LA situation, about everything she'd been hiding. But before she could speak, Harper appeared at Declan's window, knocking frantically. He rolled it down. Harper, what? We have a problem. Harper thrust her phone at them. The magazine feature just dropped early. And there's a bonus section. Sloane grabbed the phone, scrolling through the digital article. There they were. All those intimate photos from her apartment, the couch, the kitchen, the bedroom. They looked perfect in love. Then she reached the bonus content. Exclusive interview. Amanda Stone speaks about her former image consultant. The article included quotes from Amanda talking about how Sloane had become obsessed with making her a star, how she'd pushed Amanda to wear increasingly dramatic outfits for attention, how the red carpet disaster wasn't an accident but a desperate attempt to create viral moments. "That's not true," Sloane whispered. "None of that is true." But there were texts, screenshots of messages between her and Amanda. Taken out of context, they looked damning. Things like, "We need to make a statement and no such thing as bad publicity. Trust me on this," Sloane said carefully. "Is any of this?" "No." Sloane's hands were shaking. "I advised against that dress. I told her it was too risky. She wore it anyway because her boyfriend told her it was edgy. Amanda's lying to save her own reputation. Then we'll prove it. We'll get your side out there." "How?" "She has screenshots, Declan." "Manipulated, sure, but screenshots." "I have nothing but my word against a movie star's." Harper cleared her throat. "It gets worse. Look at the comments." Sloane scrolled down. Hundreds of comments appearing in real time. So she sabotaged Amanda's career, and now she's landed a billionaire. Suspicious. Image consultant knows how to manipulate an image. Shocking. That engagement is fake. Calling it now. Poor Declan Ashford. He has no idea what he's gotten into. Sloane felt sick. "We need to make a statement," Harper said. "Control the narrative before." "Before what?" A new voice cut through the parking garage. They turned to find a man in his 40s holding a recorder. Marcus Webb. "Entertainment Tonight. Care to comment on your fiancé's alleged pattern of manipulating public perception for personal gain?" No comment. Declan moved to shield Sloane. "And you need to leave. This is private property. Just one question." Marcus smiled, shark-like. "How long have you two really been together?" "Because I have sources in London who say there's no record of Sloane Whittaker staying at any London hotel 6 months ago. In fact, she hasn't been to London in 3 years." The garage went silent. "Get out," Declan said, his voice deadly calm. "I'll take that as confirmation." Marcus backed away. Still recording. "Expect a follow-up story by tonight. America deserves to know if Charleston's golden couple is built on lies." After he left, the three of them stood frozen. "We're done," Sloane said quietly. "We have to end this. Tell the truth before he does." "No." Declan turned to her. "We figure this out together. Declan, he knows we're lying. The hotel records, the timeline he's going to expose everything. Your aunt's foundation vote. Your business expansion. My already destroyed reputation. I don't care about any of that." "You should." Sloane pulled away. "This is exactly what I was afraid of. Getting close to someone, having them see the real mess that is my life, and watching it destroy them too. You're not a mess. I'm literally being accused of sabotaging a client's career and faking an engagement. I'm the definition of a mess. So we'll fix it." "How?" She laughed, the sound bitter. "How do we fix any of this?" Declan opened his mouth, then closed it. For the first time since she'd met him, he looked lost. Harper's phone buzzed, then buzzed again and again. "The story's out," she said quietly. "Marcus published early. It's everywhere." Sloane pulled out her phone. The headline made her stomach drop. "Fake engagement? Sources. Question. Ashford Whittaker. Romance timeline. Below it, photos of them at the charity ball. At the magazine shoot, looking perfect and in love and completely, utterly fake. "I need to go," Sloane said, moving toward her car. "Sloane, wait. I'm sorry, Declan. For all of this, you deserve better than," her voice broke. "Better than me." She got in her car and drove away before he could see her cry. At 11 p.m., Sloane sat in her dark apartment phone off staring at Declan's grandmother's ring on her finger. Someone knocked at her door. She knew who it would be before she opened it. Declan stood there, still in his suit from the morning show, looking exhausted and determined. "Before you say anything," he started, "I know you think you're protecting me. I know you think your mess is going to destroy everything I've worked for, and maybe you're right. Maybe Marcus publishes his story and the foundation vote goes to Bradford and my expansion falls through and we both look like idiots." He stepped closer. "But here's what I know for sure. I don't care. I don't care about any of it, if it means losing you. Declan, 3 days ago you told me this stopped being fake. You were right. Somewhere between your terrible insults and perfect coffee orders and the way you defended me on live television, I fell for you. The real you. Mess and all." Sloane felt tears streaming down her face. "We've known each other for a week. 8 days. And I've never been more sure of anything." He cupped her face, wiping away tears with his thumbs. "So here's what we're going to do tomorrow. We're calling a press conference. We're going to tell the truth. All of it. How Vivian forced us into this. How it started as fake. How it became real." He smiled. "And then we're going to deal with whatever consequences come together. You'll lose everything. I'll lose you if we keep lying." He kissed her forehead. "That's worse." Sloane looked at this man who'd crashed into her life a week ago, this impossible, infuriating, perfect man who was willing to burn down his whole world for her. "Okay," she whispered. "Tomorrow we tell the truth. All of it. All of it." He pulled her into his arms, and for the first time in days, Sloane felt like she could breathe. Tomorrow they'd face the consequences. Tonight they had each other. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough. The Ashford Capitol conference room had never felt so small. Sloane stood at the window watching news vans assemble in the parking lot below. It was 8:47 a.m. The press conference was scheduled for 9:13 minutes until she and Declan destroyed everything. Second thoughts? Harper appeared beside her, holding 2 cups of coffee. 100th thoughts. Sloane took the cup gratefully. "Is he ready?" "He's been ready since midnight. You're the one I'm worried about." Before Sloane could respond, the door opened. Vivian swept in wearing a Navy power suit and an expression that could freeze lava. "Absolutely not." Declan followed behind her, looking exhausted but determined. "Aunt Vivian. Do not Aunt Vivian me." She turned on Sloane. "This press conference, this confession, it's professional suicide for both of you. We know," Sloane said quietly. "Then why would you?" Vivian stopped, studying them. Her eyes narrowed. Oh no. You actually fell for each other." The silence was answer enough. "Well." Vivian sat down heavily. "This is inconvenient. The foundation vote is tomorrow," Declan said. "If we don't come clean now, Marcus Webb publishes his expose anyway. This way we control the narrative." "Control?" Vivian laughed sharply. "Darling, the moment you admit this engagement was fake, you lose all control. Bradford wins. Your expansion dies. And Sloane," she turned, "you'll never work in image consulting again. Who trusts someone who can't even manage their own image?" Each word landed like a blow. But Sloane had spent all night preparing for this. "You're right," she said. "I'll probably never work in this industry again. But I'd rather be honest and unemployed than keep lying and lose myself completely." "How noble." Vivian's voice dripped sarcasm. "And what about Declan? He loses billions because of your principles." "I lose billions if I lose her," Declan said simply. "Money I can make back." "But Sloane," he looked at her, "there's only one of her." Something flickered across Vivian's face, surprise, maybe even respect. "You're both idiots." "But I suppose there's a first time for everything." She stood, straightening her suit. "Fine. Have your press conference. Tell your truth. But I'm coming with you." "What?" Sloane and Declan said, simultaneously. "Someone needs to do damage control. And like it or not, I started this mess. Vivian headed for the door, then paused. For what it's worth, your grandmother would have loved her, Declan. She always did prefer the complicated ones. After she left, Sloane turned to Declan. Did that just happen? I think my aunt just gave us her blessing. He checked his watch. 5 minutes. Ready? Absolutely not. She grabbed his hand. But let's do it anyway. The conference room was packed, reporters jammed shoulder to shoulder, cameras pointing like weapons. Sloane recognized Marcus Webb in the front row, smirking. She and Declan sat at a table, Vivian flanking Declan's other side. Harper had prepared a statement, but Sloane had crumpled it up at 2 a.m. This needed to be real. Thank you all for coming, Declan started. We have an announcement to make, one that's complicated. The engagement between Sloane Whitaker and myself began as a fabrication. The room exploded. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. However, Declan raised his voice. Let me explain. He told the story. Vivian's request, the foundation politics, the 3-month agreement. The crowd listened, rapt. We were supposed to pretend for 3 months, Declan continued. Attend events, smile for cameras, then quietly end things after the vote. But something unexpected happened. Sloane picked up the story. We actually got to know each other, the real versions, not the polished public ones. I learned that Sloane stress organizes her entire apartment at 3 a.m., Declan said. And despite everything, Sloane smiled. That she cries during animated movies but pretends she's not. That she takes her coffee with an extra shot because she's always running on 4 hours of sleep and pure determination. I learned that Declan plays chess against himself when he's anxious, Sloane added. That he visits his grandmother's grave every Sunday. That he remembers every small detail about people because he actually pays attention, not because he's trying to manipulate them. They looked at each other, and the room faded away. So yes, Declan said, turning back to the cameras. The engagement started as fake, but somewhere between the lies, we fell in love for real. Which doesn't excuse the deception, Sloane said quickly. We lied to the public, to the foundation board, to everyone, and we're sorry. Marcus Webb stood. Ms. Whitaker, what about the allegations from Amanda Stone that you sabotaged her career? Sloane had been dreading this question. Amanda's accusations are partially true. I did push her toward attention-getting fashion choices, but I never, ever suggested that specific dress. In fact, she pulled out her phone. I have emails from that night begging her not to wear it. She chose to anyway because her then-boyfriend convinced her it was bold. She projected the emails onto the screen behind them, time-stamped, clear, damning. I failed, Amanda. Sloane continued. Not by sabotaging her, but by not protecting her from her own bad decisions. I was so focused on making her a star that I didn't see she was surrounding herself with people who gave terrible advice. That's on me. Marcus sat down, deflated. Another reporter stood. Mr. Ashford, what about the foundation vote? Won't this confession guarantee Bradford Montgomery wins? Probably, Declan admitted. But I'd rather lose with integrity than win with lies, even if it costs me billions. Even then? The room went silent. Vivian leaned forward to the microphone. If I may, I forced these two into this arrangement. I was so focused on winning that I didn't consider the cost. Declan and Sloane made mistakes. Yes, but they're here now, telling the truth when they could have kept lying. She stood, looking directly at the cameras. That takes more courage than I showed. Which is why, effective immediately, I'm withdrawing my name from consideration for the foundation leadership. Bradford can have it. The room erupted again. Aunt Vivian Declan started. Don't argue with me. She smiled, genuine this time. Besides, I'm retiring. Maybe I'll take up gardening or online poker. Haven't decided yet. As the reporters shouted questions, Sloane felt Declan's hand find hers under the table. Well, he murmured, we did it. We destroyed everything. Feels good, doesn't it? And somehow, Impossibly. Sloane laughed. The fallout was immediate and brutal. By noon, fake engagement was trending nationwide. Think pieces appeared about authenticity, public deception, and modern romance. The Charleston Society magazine pulled their feature. 3 foundation board members called for Declan's resignation from the board. But there were also unexpected responses. A tweet from Amanda Stone. "I owe Sloane Whitaker an apology. She did warn me about the dress. I was too proud to listen. Sorry, Sloane." An op-ed from a relationship columnist. "Maybe we need more couples willing to admit they're figuring it out as they go. Romance isn't always a fairy tale from the start." And, most surprisingly, a call from the CEO of Bradford Montgomery's company, Mr. Ashford. Harper poked her head into Declan's office, where he and Sloane were hiding from the world. "You need to take this call. If it's another reporter, it's Bradford Montgomery." Declan and Sloane exchanged glances. He put the call on speaker. "Declan." Bradford's gruff voice filled the room. That was quite the press conference. "Mr. Montgomery, let me finish. I spent 40 years in business being ruthless, crushing competition, winning at all costs." He paused. "You know what I realized watching you today? I've never once been willing to sacrifice anything that mattered for something that mattered more." "Sir, I'm not sure I follow." "The foundation vote is tomorrow. I'm withdrawing my name recommending you and Ms. Whitaker for co-leadership." Sloane nearly dropped the phone. "Us? But we just confessed to lying." "Yes. You also showed more integrity in one press conference than most people show in a lifetime." Bradford chuckled. "Besides, Vivian called me this morning. Told me the whole story, said if I had any sense, I'd recognize leadership when I saw it." After the call ended, Sloane stared at Declan. "Did that just happen? I think we just won by losing. That's not how anything works. Apparently, it's how we work." He pulled her into his arms. "We're a disaster. The worst." She kissed him. "Think we'll ever figure out how to do things normally? Not a chance." 3 weeks later, Sloane stood in the Ashford Foundation headquarters, now officially co-director alongside Declan. The irony wasn't lost on her. They'd achieved what Vivian wanted, just not how she'd planned. "Ready for this?" Declan appeared beside her, holding 2 coffees. Their first official foundation event was tonight, a gala to announce their leadership and new initiatives. Everyone would be watching, judging, waiting for them to fail. Terrified, she admitted. "You?" "Absolutely." He handed her the coffee. "But I have a proposal." "Another one?" "Because the last one worked out so well. Funny." He pulled out a small box. Sloane's heart stopped. "Declan, before you panic, this isn't my grandmother's ring. You're giving that back to my sister." He opened the box to reveal a simple silver band with a small emerald. "This is new. Ours. Declan, we've been together for a month. A real month, not a fake 6 months." "I know." He took her hand. "Which is why I'm not proposing marriage. I'm proposing we keep figuring this out together, one day at a time, one coffee at a time, one disaster at a time." "That's not a proposal. That's just dating." "Exactly." He slipped the ring on her right hand. "But with better jewelry." Sloane looked at the ring, then at him. "You're impossible. You're difficult. We're a mess. The best kind." He kissed her forehead. "So you in? For what?" "Slow-burning romance. Actual, honest relationship. No fake timelines or manufactured stories. Terrifying, I know." She kissed him long and sweet and real. "I'm in." The gala that night was everything their charity ball engagement announcement wasn't: honest, simple, real. They didn't stage perfect photos or rehearse romantic stories. They just existed together, laughing at Harper's jokes, arguing about foundation priorities, stealing kisses in quiet corners when they thought no one was looking. "You know," Harper said, catching the mid-kiss behind a potted plant, "you two are terrible at sneaking around." "We're not sneaking," Sloane protested. We're just being disgustingly in love, Harper grinned. Yeah, I know. It's actually kind of adorable now that you're not lying about it. After Harper left, Sloane turned to Declan. Are we disgustingly in love? Probably. He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Is that okay? It's terrifying. Best kind of terrifying. The absolute best. From across the room, Vivian watched them, champagne in hand. A young woman approached Piper, Declan's sister, home from graduate school. They're good together, Piper observed. Against all odds, Vivian raised her glass. To disasters that somehow work out, to messes that become masterpieces, Piper added. They clinked glasses as Sloane and Declan emerged from their hiding spot, hands intertwined, laughing about something private and perfect. 6 months later, actual months, documented in real, Sloane sat in the coffee shop in Charleston that had become their place. Not London. Not anywhere fake. Here. Real. Theirs. Declan slid into the seat across from her, 2 lattes in hand. Vanilla. Extra shot. No foam, he announced. You know me so well. She took the cup, then noticed the small box beside it. Declan, before you panic again, this isn't a proposal. Not yet. He opened the box to reveal a key. It's a key to my apartment, because you're there 5 nights a week anyway, and your toothbrush deserves a permanent home. Sloane felt tears threatening. That's the most romantic thing you've ever said. Really? More romantic than the British Library story we made up? So much more. She took the key. Does this mean I have to give you a key to my place? Nah. I already made a copy 3 weeks ago. You what? Kidding. He held up his hands, laughing. Completely kidding. She threw a napkin at him. This was them ridiculous and real and perfectly imperfect. Hey, Sloane. Yeah? Remember when you insulted me at the country club? Best decision I ever made. Worst introduction ever. Led to the best relationship, though. He reached across the table, lacing their fingers together. Yeah, it really did. 1 year after the press conference, Declan got down on one knee. Actually down on one knee. No fake proposals. No British Library stories. Just him and Sloane in their coffee shop, surrounded by people who knew their messy, complicated, absolutely true story. Sloane Catherine Whitaker, he said, holding a ring that had nothing to do with family heirlooms or public image. Will you marry me for real this time? She didn't make him wait 5 minutes. Yes, she said immediately, pulling him up into a kiss. Yes, absolutely yes. The coffee shop erupted in applause. And in the back corner, Harper Video called Vivian, who was somewhere in Italy learning to make pasta and absolutely winning at online poker. They did it, Harper announced. Of course they did, Vivian said, smiling. I knew they would eventually. You planned this whole thing. I planned a fake engagement. They did the rest. Vivian raised a wine glass to the screen. To young love and to disasters that refuse to stay fake. Epilogue. Charleston Society magazine. 1 year later. From Fake to Forever, the Ashford-Whitaker love story. When Sloane Whitaker and Declan Ashford confessed, their engagement began as a publicity arrangement. The world expected scandal. Instead, they gave us something better. Proof that real love doesn't follow scripts. Today, as co-directors of the Ashford Foundation, they've revolutionized Charleston philanthropy. Their foundation has funded art programs for underserved communities, business grants for female entrepreneurs, and a scholarship program named after Declan's grandmother. But perhaps their greatest achievement is showing that authenticity. Messy, complicated, imperfect, authenticity beats fairy tale perfection every time. When asked what advice they'd give to couples just starting out, Sloane laughed. Start with honesty. We did it backwards and nearly destroyed everything. But we figured it out, Declan added, looking at his fiancée, now wife, with unmistakable adoration. One disaster at a time. And isn't that what love really is? choosing each other through every disaster, every mess, every imperfect moment. Congratulations to Charleston's favorite couple. May your marriage be as real, honest, and beautifully chaotic as the